Now, I know we've talked about variables in the past with specifically JavaScript and jQuery, and the same holds true here. Variables do the same thing. They hold information, but the way that you write variables and use variables can vary a little bit in PHP, specifically with the syntax of the language. And if you're still unsure what a variable is, think of a variable as a bucket that holds information. Now, the basic syntax of a variable in PHP is a $sign followed by a variable name using text with no spaces, like so, your variable, followed by an equal sign, and then the contents of the variable ending with a semicolon. So if I were to add a string, hello world, there we go, and then the semicolon. That is a PHP variable. There are 4 basic variable types in PHP, and each of them is meant to hold different types of information. So there is a variable called Boolean, and a Boolean variable is a variable that specifies a value of either true or false. And that's important when you're programming because sometimes you need to know something's true, sometimes you need to know something's false. So for example, logged in equals true or false. So that's Boolean. There's also an integer. An integer is basically any whole number. And that would look something like so. My age, 26. Now you can also do floating point, and floating point essentially is a fractional number with a decimal, and that would be something like this. Equals 146.28. That's floating point. Another variable would be a string. And we've already talked about strings. Strings basically are simple text that must be enclosed within double quotations or single quotations. And a string, an example would be this. Full name equals Brad Hussey. Now you can display these variables on the screen because currently if I were to view this in my page here, it's not going to work. Now, if you don't have this page set up, go ahead and create variables.php, add your basic HTML structure, and then get up and running, add your PHP script, and then just follow along. Obviously, this is in the course files folder too. If you just want to download and follow along, that's good to go. Good by me. Now, if you want to display these variables on the screen, you could do something like this. So display, you could play around and do something simple like adding the echo, and then in your strings, you could say, hello, my name is, and then you could just put your variable directly in these double quotes here, full name, and I am my age, years old. Save that, and there you go. Hello, my name is Brad Hussey, and I'm 26 years old. And you can already see how this is going to be useful for you because you can create variables and spit them out right there in your text. Now, another thing you might want to know are constants. So instead of just variables, this is variables and constants. There we go. And now let's talk about constants. Constants, or a constant, is similar to a variable in the sense that you can store information in a keyword that can be used throughout your web page. However, the value of a constant can't be changed, whereas a variable, you can change that variable throughout your script. So if I wanted to change my name here, I could just reestablish the full name variable right here and just say brad. And there we go. I just changed the variable. So now if I were to check this out, hello, my name is brad. So there we go. I just changed the value of that variable. Now, technically you could do that with constants as well, but the idea is that you don't. The idea is that it stays the same. It's not meant to be kind of swapped around and used in your program. It's meant to be something constant. Now, it's also worth noting that constants are case sensitive, and they're written in all caps by convention. And here's how you define a constant in PHP. Define, and then you got your parentheses, and then the first parameter or argument is title. In my case, you can call it whatever you want. You could say age, but I'm going to say title. And then in another string here, PHP variables and constants. Now save this. If you wanted to display this on your page, you simply just echo like that. and you don't need to put that in strings. That's how you echo a constant. So if I were to go down here, PHP variables and constants. Now, a better use of constants would be, this is how I like using it. Up at the very top of your document, I'm going to copy this. I'm going to paste it up here, PHP, define the title, and then in the title here, like I said, you could use PHP anywhere you want. PHP echo title. That is one of my favorite ways of using constants. And now you just need to change it here in order for it to show up in the title. And you'll see here it works. So that's how you'd use a constant. And so those are variables and constants. We're going to be playing around with these a lot more in the next handful of lectures in the couple sections. So don't worry if you're afraid that this isn't enough to move forward with the professional knowledge of variables and constants. Hang tight.